Welcome on back, everybody. It's time for TechyTV Gaming News. I'm Techie, and I'm joined here with T-Money.
T-Money.
And guys, we're going to get straight into it. Just a couple of items this week. Not a whole lot going on, but a whole lot to talk about per se. So let's get to it, guys. I want to talk about this week the Xbox One versus PS4 graphic horsepower computational debate, however you want to say it. And basically, guys, I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of researching online, I do a lot of forum trolling, not actual trolling, but like going through the forums and everything and reading what people have to say. Partly because I want to see what people think, you know, what's a general consensus of where things are going. And obviously that'll range from site to site you go to. T-Money, I think you can attest to that.
Definitely.
So basically, guys, this is what I want to talk about. Fanboys basically have just been slugging it out non-stop about which console's better, PS4, Xbox One, and it's nothing new. That's been going on since the time of, going back to Nintendo versus Sega days. You know?
Yeah, since the beginning of time.
I guess more prevalent it's been now just because people have access to the internet. You know, anyone with a keyboard can leave a comment, you know, versus, you know, when you had a debate with someone in real life, you had to face them face to face. So guys...
Yeah, you can be anonymous now. You don't have to be worried about getting punched in the face or something.
Exactly. So guys, the Xbox One, I don't know if you heard or not, but it got a bump in the CPU and the GPU. The bump up was from 1.6 gigahertz to 1.75 gigahertz for the CPU. And the GPU got a bump up from 800 to 853 megahertz, I believe. Not a huge leap if you look at like how much of it was. It'll be able to do a little bit for it. But basically, when you look on paper, the specs for both the Xbox One and the PS4 are actually very similar. And so there was this huge debate. A guy from Microsoft came out, and I wish I had his name in front of me, I don't. Came out and basically made some comments about, that the Xbox One wasn't underpowered, that the PS4 wasn't overpowered. It got blown out of constraint. People got upset. People twisted his words. And guys, it's just gotten ugly and frankly stupid. It really has. There's been some developers that have come out and said that the PS4 is more powerful. But, I mean, when they said that, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm comparing a Super Nintendo to a Nintendo 64. No, I mean, what they were talking about is marginal. Very slight marginal. And like I said, I mean, the stats on actual paper are so close, it's not even funny.
I almost feel like Microsoft is playing the PR game more than anything with these modifications. You know, they're just trying to put something out there for proponents of their system that kind of grab onto and just, you know, give them something to point towards. Say, hey, look, this is what they're doing. They're improving the CPU and the GPU. You know what I mean? The changes are really, I mean, they're so minuscule. Don't you think it's just like it's a stunt?
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, this was nothing more than, hey, we've got to do something, try to save face after the debacle that happened with E3 and our changing of policies and, you know, just the horrible PR incident that happened to them. I think this was just to try to exactly like what you said. You know, and the systems are different in the sense that Sony's going with a unified memory bank, and it's going to have a higher bandwidth versus what Microsoft is doing. They went for lower latency and a boost up using the ES RAM, I believe it was called, with 32 megabytes on that, and that was supposed to make up for the architecture, basically the architecture that they planned on using. And guys, this is what I want to say, and this is where I'm going to throw it down right here. It's not going to mean jack squat unless developers get out there and utilize the hardware at the end of the day. Because guys, you can sit there and have fanboy wars. You can sit there and argue and cry and whine and do whatever else you want about it. It's not going to matter, guys, because ultimately these systems are about the games. It's not about specs. It's not about Xbox Cloud. It's not about Xbox Turn On. It's not about PlayStation 4 has a bunch of free indie games. Guys, it's about the games that come out for the system. Ultimately, at the end of the day. And
yeah, totally.
This has just been something that's kind of like been on my chest for a while, and I wanted to get it off and talk about it. And, you know, we'll see which system, I guess, if you want to call it, is more prevalent on the graphics side in the near future. I mean, but you're looking at several years into the development of the console. You know, I mean, this console is going to need to be on the shelves for quite a few years before, you know, the developers can really start harnessing the horsepower out of it. So we're going to see what happens. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts below. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. And moving on, guys, the Sony Tokyo Game Show happened this week. And some big announcements came out of there. Nothing huge or groundbreaking, but a couple interesting ones out of the Sony camp. One of those being that there's going to be a new PlayStation Vita. Now, it's going to be coming out in Japan October 10th. It's going to have 1 gigabyte of storage built in, which is laughable when you consider the average Vita game, I think, is like 2 gigabytes, and then your more core titles are like right around 3 to 4 gigabytes. It's going to have basically the same price tag as what the current Vita has, but there's some changes to it. And here's what they are. Some of the basic changes are the battery life is going to be 6 hours of play versus I think it was 4 or something. It's going to be a trimmed down, 20% thinner, 15% lighter, and they're going with a LCD screen instead of an OLED screen. Thoughts on that, T-Money?
Well, the screen change is kind of what resonates with me, just because, you know, I'm kind of a display fanatic.
Right.
And I can only imagine they have a good reason for changing, whether it be cost or they weren't able to ensure the same level of quality throughout all the units with the OLED.
Right.
So we'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm interested to see once some of these newer units go out, what starts rolling in on the internet as far as comments about the new model, the make, the screen. You know, we're just gonna have to pay attention and see what happens. I'm really interested to see how this whole thing plays out.
Sure. Go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. And then I guess my comment on that would be, you know, we just saw Nintendo roll out the 2DS. And, you know, the clamshell design is gone. They took away the 3D. And so I kind of think I maybe understand where they're going with this, going with the LCD screen now instead of the OLED. And I think a lot of it has to do with cost. I think they're trying to get the cost down of the Vita so they can better position themselves to make a better profit on it. And I think they're willing to take a hit on prettiness, the eye candy factor, versus making a few extra dollars on the actual product itself.
Interesting.
And then, guys, the final announcement for your regular Vita news would be that they're announcing a 64 gigabyte memory card for $100. That's a little pricey, but you know, hey. And guys, here's the big news that came out of Tokyo Game Show that the internet has just been a buzz about. I'm sure you've either seen it. If you haven't seen it or heard about it, listen on in. It's the PlayStation Vita TV. Now, what this thing is it's a small little box. It's white, and basically, they're only going to be releasing it in Japan, and it's going to come out this November. There's no word on a U.S. date or any other date. It's an interesting little box, and I'm really curious to see how exactly it's going to work as far as adoption rate, as far as like moving it into other territories. I do know right before we went to do this cast team money, I forgot to put it in our notes. It was sold out on Amazon Japan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely picked up some steam. But basically, guys, here's the details on it. It's going to be about $95, and they're also going to ship another bundle with it with an 8 gig card and a DualShock 3 controller for about $145-ish, somewhere in there. So basically, what this little box is going to do, it's going to support Japan-specific video streaming like Hulu, and there's several other Japan video streaming services over in Japan, as well as Sony's own Video Unlimited service. So basically, it'll also play Vita games. It's going to come with an HDMI cable, and there's supposed to be some type of backwards legacy support where you can play some older games on it, as well as some PC type of games. I don't know all the details on that. So basically, what do we have here? We have a tiny little box that will basically stream video content for you, play your Vita games. One other thing I forgot to mention. When you sync this thing with your PS4, it's going to allow you to remote play your PS4 games in a different room on a TV. Basically, I don't know. I see them as this as like a competitive device towards Apple. T-Money, your thoughts?
Yeah, it sounds like it. The capabilities seem the same. The price point is pretty much the same. I actually have quite a bit of experience with Apple TV, and I actually think it's a good product. I think that it's worthwhile to have those streaming capabilities on your TV. I mean, you get YouTube too, and you can web browse. Of course, obviously, it doesn't have the PlayStation functionality. I guess if you wanted to draw a parallel, it would be with your iDevices, like your iPad and your iPhones can sync up to Apple TV with photos and other content. So you have basically your digital ecosystem is, I think, how Apple likes to describe it. And it seems like Sony is kind of moving towards that same type of scenario where they're going to have devices that you can have almost a Sony exclusive digital ecosystem in your home with your Sony, your TV, PlayStation Vita TV, or your PlayStation 4, your Vita, so we'll just have to see how it does.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the grand picture, I think if this thing's really successful in Japan, and so far it's already picking up a little bit of steam. If it's successful in Japan, I see them bringing it to the States and competing with the Apple TV. And here's one thing that the Apple TV's not currently doing, and that's games. You can have your music and all your other stuff synced up, and your videos and your streaming, but when you throw in the game factor there, I think it brings it to a new level.
It appeals to a different crowd. Now, there is another competitor to Apple TV that's actually quite popular. I think it's called Roku, the Roku box. Have you heard about this Roku box?
Yeah.
And I think it does have some. I don't know exactly what the gaming capabilities are, but I know it comes preloaded with like Angry Birds, and it's kind of gimmicky because it comes with a remote that is made to play Angry Birds with. I think it's
right.
Got the logo on there.
And the thing with that is, I mean, the gaming capabilities of that is like you're literally talking a very small, minute amount of games and basic games, whereas you're talking about being able to stream your PlayStation 4 games in another room, switch and watch movies if you want to watch movies or access your other content. Not to mention, I believe there will be some other gaming content that will be supported through this device. So it'd be kind of hard to compare the Roku device to this device as far as like when you're a gaming comparison.
Well, yeah, I mean there is no pre-existing like streaming box that has like those capabilities. That's where Sony's PS Vita TV has the advantage, is that I think that's syncing with the PS4, obviously.
Right, and one of the disadvantages that they're saying right now is that there's going to be certain Vita games that are not going to be playable back on this device. And the reason for that being is that they require touch input on the actual Vita controller itself. But Sony has said that they do plan on doing a patch for the PS4 DualShock controller in the future, and the PS4 DualShock does have a touchpad right there. So on the actual controller itself, the little black matte thing on the controller. So they may be able to do a workaround with that. Well, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how the Vita does, and if it does come to other markets. I think right now it's a pretty ambitious project, and you know, if they do some serious work and we get some serious Vita games, I can see it taking off. You know, I can even see it, doing somewhat okay based on what's just currently out there. I don't think it'll be successful, but being okay. I think when you get some really core titles for the Vita, some really cool must-have apps for the Vita, I think that's when this will shine through.
You know what how I kind of feel about this is I almost feel like Apple TV and Roku they are almost like under the radar devices. I feel like they're devices that not a lot of people even know that they're out there. I feel like if more people knew about them and how easy they were to use, that a lot more people would have them. And so I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe that might work against. Maybe that's something that Sony can actually take to its advantage, or it could work against them if they don't realize that. Because I just feel like, Apple TV and Roku. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who probably don't even know what they do, what they are.
I would agree with you on that, man. I think if you look at the majority of the households in the U.S., you're almost always going to be guaranteed to find a satellite box. You're going to be guaranteed to find a cable box. You're going to find a lot of 360s or PS3s or Wiis in a household. I think if you took those numbers compared to that versus like a Roku or an Apple TV box, they'd be staggering as far as the differences go.
Exactly, I agree.
And I think this is Sony's attempt to kind of to move in and try to overwhelm the market by almost like a blitzkrieg tactics by saying, look at all the stuff that we have, and going out there and just trying to take it.
I didn't even know they were working. Has there been a chatter about this, or has this come as a total surprise?
This is total surprise. Sony kind of let out a little discreet message before the Tokyo Game Show saying that we've got something big to show you at TGS, and then they came out with it. So no, this wasn't something that was like rumored or anything.
It's very interesting move by Sony. I'm interested to see how it does.
Definitely. So we will definitely see about that. Guys, I want to thank you for listening in. Not a lot to talk about, but a lot to talk about for just a few topics that we had. As always, guys, check us out on Facebook, TechyTV. Check us out on Twitter, @TechyTV. Hope you guys have an awesome week. Tomorrow is Patriots Day. And hopefully I'll get this uploaded in the next couple days. This has been Techie.
T-Money.
And have a good one, guys. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Peace.